about this.
Okay, let's move off of Shrek and let's move to something that doesn't seem like it's going to be having the legacy that it needs to. We're going to talk about the Nintendo NX. This is news that broke today, so I'm kind of happy that we're talking about it today because it's kind of fresh for both of us. If
Hmm.
you guys don't know, Nintendo NX is the next console, or at least we thought, that Nintendo's going to release after the failure of the Wii U. And I say failure because it was, sales wise, and the games that came out. Um, or more so, the lack of games that came out. Nintendo,
Hmm.
when was the Wii U released? Was that 2013? Let me see.
I believe so. Don't quote your boy.
The Wii U was released in November 18th, 2012. So it's been 3 full years, 3.5 ish.
Hmm.
And they're already moving on to the next console. That shows you how poorly the Wii U did. And it was Nintendo's fault. It was underpowered compared to the PS4 and Xbox One that came out the year after. And the games, it had no third party support. The third party support it did have was nothing noteworthy. And the first party titles were not even noteworthy. Of course, the new Mario Kart was fun. The new Smash Bros. Was fun. I don't
That
even know
was
what else.
lit.
There was a Pikmin. Pikmin was
Bayonetta
good.
2?
Bayonetta 2. I mean, that was somehow a Wii U exclusive. I don't know how they got that, but I'm glad they did
No
because
clue.
that gave them a little bit of life. Um,
Yeah.
and sorry if I'm coming off as very negative about Nintendo. I just think they have so much potential and they just have been not making good business decisions for when was the Wii U released? 2012? For about 4 years now. 5 years when they decided to design
Hmm.
the Wii U. So the NX, this is a report by Eurogamer. This came out today,
Right.
and they just have a bunch of sources giving them some credible information about the NX. So let's just start from the top of this article and move down. The link is in the description, of course. So if you want to click on it, there's some pictures with kind of some concepts to visualize what we're talking about here. So the biggest part about the
It's a
NX
read
that was
along.
released was that it's like a handheld console thing. So the concept image here, it looks like the Wii U controller where it has a screen in the middle. It looks like that, but the two the joysticks or the analog sticks on the sides, those detach into two controllers. I'm assuming the same way that the Wiimote and the nunchuck worked, where you have one in each hand and you use them simultaneously. That's what it looks like. And then you take the screen and you put it on a dock, and that projects it onto the TV. Not project, but streams it onto the TV.
Hmm.
So it's made to be portable, but it would be about the size of a tablet, roughly. And then you take it home, put it on a dock, and play it. Now here's the problem with that. That means these games have to be, I don't want to say scaled down, but they have to be able to run on a portable system,
Hmm.
which will never be as powerful as a PC or a console because they have to fit it into this box that you hold in your hands. So let's just take the new Zelda game for example. What is it? Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. That game, I mean, it looked beautiful from the E3 gameplay they showed. You're telling me that it's gonna look like PS4, Xbox One quality on a portable system? I don't believe that. I don't believe that at
Yeah.
all. And that's what's worrying me. I mean, you look at the GameCube. The GameCube didn't do anything new graphically, but it just did it right. It wasn't even
Hmm.
necessarily trying to be anything more powerful, I guess, because they've always used the more colorful art scheme instead of trying to have those realistic graphics, which gives them
Right.
a
You
little bit,
relied on art design.
yeah, it gives them a little bit more of an excuse to not have as powerful graphics because the art or the presentation gives them that advantage. But at this
Hmm.
point, they've got to step their game up. The PS4 and Xbox One have been out for, I guess, 3 years. PCs are PCs. They will always look as good as they do.
Oof.
There's no excuse at this point to have an underpowered home console. I don't think there's any way that you can convince me to buy this when I got these other systems that look twice as good, can run twice as well.
Right.
And I mean, I said home console. Apparently, this is a portable home console. You know, so that's even more worrisome. And I think Nintendo is banking too much on their presentation in these games, and they're banking too much on their decades-old franchises. If their Marios don't do well for one console, God forbid, I don't see how Nintendo can't even keep that console alive.
Yeah, that's what I never understand, because they're not really putting any focus into creating something new. They rely so heavily on legacy. And I think we're getting to the point where we're getting to generations where we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, nostalgia isn't everything.
Right. Now, I will give them credit. They released Splatoon on the Wii U. That was an original IP. That was a good game. It was a third-person shooter, but of course, Nintendo, it was, you're a squid person and you shoot with paint
that game.
or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a good original IP. So I'd like to see them continue that with the NX. But you can't have 6 games on a console. You know, you can't have your first-party games only and expect to stay afloat. You need the third-party support, and Nintendo has never had third-party support for their home consoles, at least for, I would venture to say, the Wii and forward. The GameCube had great third-party support. I think the Wii is where it started really going downhill, and the Wii U was almost non-existent.
Right.
So that's just the first part. That's like 2 or 3 paragraphs of the story. So let's continue on down here.
Go ahead.
So the processor chip that they're using, this is basically the core of the console's power, is from NVIDIA. It's the Tegra mobile processor. Good. Whatever. That's great. Another report, which I like this more so just from a collector's standpoint. I don't know if there's any benefits to it technically. The report is that they're going back to cartridges instead of disc. And again, there's a concept image here that's in this article. It's supposed to be like a vintage Game Boy cartridge with Breath of the Wild artwork on it. I doubt if they did cartridges it would look like that. I would venture to say they'd be a little bit more like DS cartridges, bigger, something along those lines. But I do think cartridges kind of open up the playing field for more artwork or collector's items. You know, there was always the standard gray or the black. No, they were gray. The gray Nintendo 64 cartridges. But you had the gold or the yellow Donkey Kong Country. You had the gold Ocarina of Time. So these cartridges themselves were physically artwork. Like, because I don't really consider the discs anymore to be artwork. You know, like they're not really. They don't really concern themselves with the disc artwork too much. But cartridges are physical pieces of art, which just adds a whole nother level to why physical media will always have a place.
No.
So after the cartridges, and again, for people worried about that, you gotta remember that hard drive space is a lot cheaper than it was 10 years ago. So you can fit a lot more memory into a smaller place than you could back then into a cartridge. And it may be cheaper to make cartridges. Who knows? I'm assuming, granted, I don't think
because that's such a strange thing to me. I don't know why.
Yeah. And
it's very
I don't
off-putting.
think Nintendo's been doing very much right recently, but I would hope that they have a reason to do this other than the artwork, because I love the artwork, but I also care about the performance of these games. Let's see what else here. It's not an Android system, which is kind of a relief, because at what point do we have enough Android home consoles? I mean, there was the Ouya, if you remember that attempt at a console.
I did.
That little cube that, you know, they talk about how there'd be Minecraft and everything on it, and then it came out and
wasn't it like they wouldn't let them into E3? So he had to make a stand across the street.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think like a
good
year
times.
later at,
Good
at
times.
conventions, they were literally giving out the Ouya's like for free to people
Wow.
walking by. So that's why I was worried about this being an Android console because that wouldn't be a Nintendo console to me if it ran on Android, you know.
Hmm.
And this is relieving news because they are making a new operating system by Nintendo for the NX. I like
Hey.
that. I think that's a good decision on their part. It allows them to optimize it exactly how they want it. That's just smart. Other than that, I mean, you guys can read the rest of this article. There's some more technicalities. There will be digital downloads and physical media. Probably the last part that's kind of discussion worthy is this report says that there will not be backwards compatibility. I'm assuming that's referring to Wii U backwards compatibility because the Wii U can play
I
Wii
believe so.
games. So I'm guessing the NX can't
Hmm.
play Wii U or Wii. Here's why that is a huge issue. Okay? So let's say you bought a Wii U on launch. That thing's only 3.5 years old. It's probably covered in dust because Nintendo has not given you a reason to play it.
Hmm.
The Nintendo NX comes out, you know, first quarter of next year. So the Wii U's 4 years old at that point, roughly, and there's this brand new Nintendo NX that's supposed to be this portable home console that's somehow as powerful, if not more powerful than the Wii U. I'll believe it if I see it. If I see it.
Hmm.
At that point, is Nintendo marketing this NX as a replacement for a Wii U or like a sister console to the Wii U? Like encourage
I
you to
think
have
it's gonna be a
both.
sister console, to be honest.
And that's such a terrible decision.
Yeah.
I I mean Xbox and PlayStation, they're talking about releasing their more powerful systems.
Hmm.
And that would be when you put in a disc for a PS4 game, it detects if you have the more powerful system. And if you do, then it allows you to access the new processing or the graphics or particle effects or whatever. It allows you to have access to new features.
Hmm.
Let's say that Nintendo's trying to do this with the Wii U and NX. That if you put in the disc, if it's on the Wii U, you only have these many features, but if it's on the NX, you have these premium features. The NX cannot be that much more powerful than the Wii U. So how are these features going to be worth buying this system? That's why I think having no backwards compatibility forces these people to keep their 4-year-old console, which you guys gotta understand is not old. That is not an old console. PlayStation, they were what 8 or 9 years from release to launch of
Close to a
PS4
decade.
into the PS3 or something like that.
Hmm.
So 4 years of a
Hmm.
console from, I mean, let's just call it what it is. This is the death of the Wii U when the NX comes out. For 4 years, that is a very short lifespan for a console. So if Nintendo's going to sit here and encourage you to
Hmm.
replace the Wii U with the NX and not allow you to play your Wii U games when the console is as young as it is and was as poorly supported as it was, that's an insult to your consumers, I think. Now, if
Hmm.
they had released just AAA after AAA with some third-party support, like Game of the Years on the Wii U, first of all, it would not have only lasted 4 years. We would not even be talking about the next Nintendo system. But if it did somehow fail in 5 years, and you have all these great games on it, and they encourage you to buy the new console, I would only hope that they would allow you to play those games on the new console. But maybe that's the downside to having this
Cartridges.
NX that only
Hmm.
uses the cartridges and it's supposed to
Right.
be mobile. And when you take it home, you're only supposed to put it on a dock. That it, I'm saying it cannot be on par with the PS4 or Xbox One. The NX
Hmm.
cannot be on par with those systems, and for those reasons, the NX will fail again.
Because that's what we're looking for from Nintendo is something new. That's what I think they're failing to realize. Like, like looking at them, it's like I wonder what their board meetings are like. Is it just a bunch of people in a room? They're like,
Right.
we need a new handheld. No,
Well, I mean,
we
it
need a new
sounds like
console.
their conferences or their meetings, it's just more of like just reassurance, telling themselves that everything's going great. Because
Yeah, Nintendo's better than ever.
if they had realized that their console was failing and wanted to do something about it, they would have done something about it. They would have
Right.
released some games and made it worth playing. They would have made the console powerful enough to compete with the PS4 and Xbox One. And they would have made it powerful enough for third parties to make their games for it. But they didn't. That's laziness. That's just poor marketing. They said, we made billions of dollars off the Wii. Let's just make a new Wii. And that wasn't the right thing to do. They needed a new system. If they wanted to make a new Wii, call it the Wii 2. Keep the same controller design, make the console more powerful. But that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted to make the Wii U with a damn screen on the controller and amiibos. That's what they wanted with the Wii U. They did not want more powerful and better games. They wanted amiibos, which is going great for them. They're making plenty of money off amiibos. But when was the last time you saw Nintendo win a Game of the Year edition? You know? Or a Game of the Year award? And I think that speaks volumes.
It's just kind of sad. It's just really, really sad, honestly, because it's just like, you can do better. It's like watching a family member who's older than you, and it's just like, come on, man, get your life together. Get out the house.
Right.
Quit doing the same things.
Because that family member used to be jacked and had a 6-figure salary.
Yeah.
And now they just stay home, maybe go to a family cookout every once in a while. That's Nintendo. Nintendo is the disgruntled family member.
Nintendo's got a beer belly.
Yes. I mean,
It's real sad.
you bring up a good point. It's like you just look at the history of Nintendo and how they arguably invented modern gaming as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at them now. What happened? When did they lose their way?
It's just, like I said, eventually when you rely too much on nostalgia, it runs out. It really does run out.
I mean, even the Wii, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are incredible games.
Mm-hmm. Some people consider it some of the best games ever made.
And I would too. I would put them on the top 100 list in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
What has what has the Wii U brought to the table that even comes close, that even makes you consider best game ever made?
Oh man, the dual screens when you're playing your game with the Star Fox Zero, which is like a
3-hour
terrible
long
carbon
game.
copy
Yeah.
of the original game. It's just an on-rail shooter. It's really sad.
How
It's
about
really
this?
sad.
All right, think about the GameCube. What are the first-party, fantastic GameCube games that were released? You got Luigi's Mansion. You got Mario Kart Double Dash. You got Super Mario Sunshine.
Ooh.
Super Mario Bros. Brawl. Or Super Smash Bros. Brawl. You had Kirby's Air Ride. You had some Kirby games on there that were really phenomenal. And you look at the third-party support, Resident Evil 4, for some reason, seems like a GameCube game. People kind of associate it with the GameCube. That's why it was ported to the Wii as early as it was. You've got kind of more obscure games like Killer 7, which are kind of more experimental in a way.
Right.
The GameCube is a phenomenal console, and it was nothing special in terms of power. It was the games that gave it so much life. And then you look at the Wii. You got Mario Galaxy on there. I didn't like the Mario Kart on the Wii. Doesn't mean everyone else didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You had Wii Sports. I mean, it was packed in, but it's the best-selling game of all time, which you could argue because the Wii U sold so well and it was packed in, blah, blah, blah. But that game is fun.
It was fun.
And it was
still is fun.
And it was a masterful display of what the Wii is supposed to be. It's supposed to be motion controls that everyone can comprehend. And that's what Wii Sports did. It made it very easy to understand how to use the Wii's motion control. That's the beauty of the Wii. They had such a good release. Granted, the consoles were very limited, and it was hard to get them, and they were in demand, but it was affordable. I mean, your grandparents could play it, and your baby sister could play it. The Wii was accessible, and it was affordable. But the games, there was a lot of shovelware on the Wii. A lot of game show games and Disney Channel games and educational games. Kind of stuff that you don't find on Xbox, PS3, you know?
Right.
But the library is still relatively solid. Now let's look at the Wii U. Right? Can you name a standout Wii U game?
Smash was alright.
Smash was alright.
Bayonetta 2 looked really amazing, though. I do have to say that. And I really wish I could play that game.
That's the only example of like worthwhile third-party support on Bayonetta 2. I know a lot of people liked Wonderful 101 that came out in the launch window. But Bayonetta 2 is really the third-party game that kind of stuck. And they did have, I think it's called The Devil's Third, which is like a really gory, M-rated game. But when that game finally came out, the reviews were pitiful. So people were just excited to have this gory game on a Nintendo console. And that's why they wanted it so bad. But when it came out, I was like, oh, maybe it's on the Nintendo console because they couldn't get it on the other consoles.
No one else wanted it.
Right. No one wanted to publish it except Nintendo.
You know, this sounds like a eulogy that we're giving for Nintendo.
I mean, unfortunately.
But this could be, you know, Steve Jobs' situation where he's pulling, you know, the black cube and they're like, oh, dude, this is going to fail. And he's like, we know this is going to fail, but I have to do this because we're working on something better, you know?
Right.
I don't know. I'm just trying to be optimistic. But
now,
yeah, I'm not liking the sound of this.
Nintendo,
are these reports confirmed?
These are reports. Nintendo has not confirmed anything. But these are reports. Some of these rumors have been floating around for a while.
Right.
And Eurogamer, from kind of who they are and the way they're writing this, it implies credibility with these sources. And it confirms some of these rumors that have already existed for a while.
All right.
The thing is, Nintendo is not going anywhere. They're not going out of business by any means. They are still the kings of portable gaming. The 3DS, I mean, any DS that they've released sells a ridiculous amounts. And their portable titles are really, really good. It just seems like they've... I think they've stopped caring about trying to be competitive in the console market. I don't think they care about the console market anymore. I think they're kind of using the console, the Wii U, and it looks like the NX, just to kind of subconsciously advertise their 3DS. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo had a good week a few weeks ago with Pokemon Go coming out. Granted, they only published it, or the Pokemon Company published it. Nintendo didn't even publish it directly. Now the Pokemon Company is a part of Nintendo, and they released they announced the NES Retro, whatever it was called. It's that console that comes with 30 NES games built into it with a controller and an HDMI cable, and it's $60. And it was officially licensed, like first party from Nintendo. That was smart. That was very smart that they did that. And I would imagine they'll only do it again with the SNES.
Right.
So they had that strong week. I was like, hell yes, Nintendo's back. Like, their corporate... The corporate heads, like, they woke up like, oh shit, we have not been doing too hot lately.
What is happening?
And then I think they went back to sleep because they realized it requires work and effort. And like,
yeah, because I'm just like, Microsoft is a perfect example right now of
they're
looking at
they're putting
looking
in
at the
work.
future of gaming,
Yeah.
and then being like, oh no, we were just analyzing. What we
Right.
need to do is put our ear to the ground and listen to people.
Right.
Listen to people. Find out what is plausible. Find out what they want. Figure out what we can do and what we want to do to push the industry forward.
Yeah. Microsoft, you got to give them props. They've been working hard to get their reputation in check.
Because Xbox One was not made to be backwards compatible at all.
No, if
but
you
they
remember,
put in the assets. They didn't even know if it would work,
if you
but they
remember
put in the
at
work
E3,
to make it happen.
they were talking about how it had to be always online, and there's that interview with, I think, the Angry Joe show, and he says, will you ever disable always online? And it was what was that dude's name? Major Nelson, and he says, well, you can't just turn a switch, like this smart ass remark, and a few months later, guess what? They turned a switch, and it's not always online. I mean, granted, Major Nelson, he's working for, where's he working? He's working for like a Facebook game or something. Oh God, I need to look this up. Cause he's like in a leadership position, but is not nearly where he was in terms of like, like.
That's a lesson, folks, for all you listening. Be humble.
Was it? No, it was Don Matrick. It was Don Matrick, I think. I'm getting these names confused. Don Matrick was the dude, I think, that was presenting at E3. He was kind of the face of it, and then he just his PR was terrible after the fact. Oh yeah, he went to Zynga. And Zynga.
The good old Zynga.
What did they develop? It was like, I feel like it was like a Nintendogs type thing. They did Farmville.
I mean, he's making money.
They did Farmville and Words with Friends.
Yeah.
So he went from Xbox to Zynga. I mean, he was still making money, but
it's about creative control.
Right.
Will.
Right. Right. I just can't. He knows what he's doing, man. He knows what he's
doing. He needs his input for that corn DLC they got going on, the sweet corn DLC.
But the reason we're talking about that, if you guys forgot, is because we're giving credit to Xbox where credit is due.
Mm-hmm.
They're working hard, and they have definitely turned themselves around, and they are right on Sony's trail. I mean, the PS4 was selling 2-1 at one point, outselling the Xbox 2-1. And now there's been months where Xbox One outsells PS4.
Yeah.
Which, again,
and it's just like they stepped their game up. And Xbox is always going to have a place in my heart.
Right. Same with Marvel and DC we were just talking about. Competition between companies only benefits the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got Xbox trying to be better than Sony, and Sony trying to be better than Xbox, we're just going to have a lot of good games to play.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Empty wallets.
And then Nintendo will be over here like, oh, we got a new Mario Kart.
this gonna be amazing.
We got Pokemon Snap too.
We're gonna put so much into Pokemon Go.
I guess there's really nothing else to say about Nintendo and the NX.
It's just, I hope that these rumors will just, or that these confirmations just be, Nintendo will be like, nah, fam, we got you, JK. Happy pre-April Fools.
Now this,
but, I highly doubt it.
Really, really early April Fools.
I know.
Now,
yeah,
Eurogamer's story says that they're doing an official console reveal in September, and then set for a March release. So in 2 months, I guess we'll be back here talking about either how Nintendo pleasantly surprised us, or gave us exactly what we thought.
Yep.
Which would not be good.
Nope.
And just to clarify, I don't hate Nintendo. I just hate bad business. And Nintendo is personifying bad business. When you look at the licenses they have and the brand, everyone knows Mario. Everyone knows the question mark block. Everyone knows Nintendo. When you just look at who they are, what they've got access to, and you look at how little they're putting into it, it's just a little disheartening. It's hard not to be apathetic about Nintendo. at this point.
It is. It is.
And I
It's completely
want them.
understandable.
I want them to turn it around. I want them to prove me wrong. I just don't think they will.
Probably not. Get up off that couch, Uncle Nintendo. Get up off that couch.